I'm adding you to the call. So I'm merging the calls. Okay, so now I should be on with Aaron and Roseanne. Are you all there? I'm on the wrong. Okay, are you all there? Oh, wonderful. Okay. Am I live right now? Can you see me? That says going live in 0 minutes. Okay, so I've got to do, how do I do this? I should be live. Okay, use camera. I'm trying to figure this out. Apparently I ended up with more than one live thing going somehow. Okay, I'm there now. Good. Okay, and I think I'm seeing the chat. Okay, so hello everyone. I don't know that I'm watching in. Okay, I cannot have more than one going somehow. So it popped up a message and I don't know what it meant. Okay, if you can see me, put something in the comments, because we're really just trying to figure this out. Okay, so there's 12 people on that, and there's one, so I've got essentially 2 different lives going, so that's really confusing. And there's 11 people on one live. I'm sorry for the confusion, everyone who's out there. I'm really trying to figure out just how this Facebook Live thing works. Okay, so we've got 6 people in one and 9 people in the other. Okay, the people who are in the 6 one, I'm going to shut this one down, and you might have to look for it. But I think we don't want 2 of them running, and I don't know how I got 2 started. So I'm shutting down one of them. And so if you're in the one shut down, go look for the other one, because it is there. Okay, so I'm ending that one. Okay. Wait. Okay, so now we've just got one Facebook Live. So let's see what that looks like. And then I'll start taking questions. I see myself in there. Is that the one that's live? Yes, that one, the one that's currently live. Okay. Oh, it says I shut down this one and that you have to go to the other one. Okay. Yeah, I stopped that one. So here's the one that's really live. Okay, I found it. Hope you all are finding it too. Okay. So if the one that you are watching has stopped, you won't hear this. And I'm not seeing the comments. It says we'll start in about 15 minutes. Hope to see you there when you all are here. Okay. Great job with the tech. I'm not really feeling it. Okay, so if y'all have any gardening questions, put them in the comments. What is it? It's almost planting time. So that's a pretty exciting time for us. I'm actually waiting till May 1st because later this week I have 43 degrees scheduled. And the other day when we had 44 predicted, my thermometer outside read 45, read 33, and we did have a frost. So you can't always trust the um, the forecast for your specific yard. Okay, Jackie asked, do I need any special soil for container/bucket gardens? I'm in the process of searching the garden group when I found July. Okay, so one of the things for soil for container gardening, you want to really make sure that you have a really light, well-draining soil mix. There are quite a few mixes that are specifically made for containers, and so you should be fine going with any of those. I generally say don't go with your soil from your garden, because that's really tends to be real heavy in clay in our area. So just a really light, and when you pick up the bag, it should feel light for the size of the bag. Okay, so Ellen Clayton, what's your advice for keeping squirrels out of my corn this year? Whew, that's a hard one. Squirrels and raccoons really have a sense for when corn's ripe and will tend to go for it. What is it? That night you'll say, I'm going to pick my corn tomorrow, and they'll get it before you're out there picking. So, oh, good morning, Lori. So, what is it? People have done large cages around their corn. Some people cover individual ears. You might search the group and see if there's any advice, but that is typically a hard one because squirrels can surmount pretty much any kind of fencing you can put on. Some people have literally done like a chicken wire or smaller cage around their whole cornfield if it's a small plot. So I wish I had more advice, but that really is one of the harder ones. It's actually the reason I don't grow corn. Not squirrels, but for my yard, raccoons. Okay, so hopefully you guys are getting your gardens ready. And with all the rain we have, the people with raised beds are at an advantage. Because raised beds tend to dry quicker. Oh, can you hear the train in the background? Okay, so Devin asks, what's the best covering for my no-dig garden? Best path covering? If you can get arborist wood chips, I know in my area with some of the heavy winds we've had recently, there have been tree services cleaning up. So if you can get the arborist wood chips, usually if you'll go to them and ask them, they will dump a load at your house. If you can't get that, my second choice would be straw. I would go with straw versus hay because there's problems in our area with hay being contaminated with a persistent herbicide that's used for preventing weeds so horses won't get stomach upset from the hay. And you can lose your whole garden and contaminate your soil for years. You know, that's really difficult. Okay, any advice to get our watermelon to grow? We grew a baby ball size last year and it turned to mush. Okay, watermelon needs light and it needs good fertility in the soil. So if you can, in the if your soil is pretty heavy clay, it also needs uh, some organic matter in the soil to help keep things loose. Um, oh, it's hay that can be contaminated. Straw is usually good because the straw we get around here is usually wheat straw, and it's illegal for them to use those persistent herbicides on the straw. So you won't find those persistent herbicides in straw, but you might find them in hay. Okay, back to the watermelon question. Um, if they got golf ball size, I lost that comment somehow. I'm trying to get back to it. Um, can you guys see that comment that was about the watermelon? Because they said it grew to about golf ball size and then shriveled to mush. When I've grown watermelon, it can grow to about that size without being pollinated. So what you might be running into is a pollination issue. Watermelon has to be pollinated. And so if you don't have very many flowers or you don't have bees to move the pollen, you can, you can have problems with that. And another thing you can do that will help is once the watermelon has started growing, if you put some hay, some straw, not hay, or something that will let there be airflow under it. Some people even put like just a couple sheets of cardboard under their growing watermelon just to isolate it from the soil. How big did that watermelon grow before it turned to mush? And did you have many fruit on it? So I've grown watermelon a couple times, but it's not one of my major crops. Okay, I had no flowers in my garden last year. I planted flowers and I'll plant flowers and straw this year. What are some of the flowers you like to grow? I tend to do some zinnias in my yard. Okay, it was about the size of a softball. Okay, at that point it was probably, at softball, I think you're talking about the watermelon. At that point it was probably fertilized. Was there just one or did you have quite a few fruits? Because, there is a difference, but watermelon is susceptible. If it gets damaged, it will rot pretty quickly. And sometimes you don't see damage that's underneath. Okay, you only had one. And how big was your watermelon plant? And was it in the ground or in a container? Okay. It takes a minute for Jackie to actually see me asking her these questions. So if anyone has any more questions, I will gladly work on answering them, and then I'll get back to Jackie's question. It seems like the delay varies from person to person. Okay, in ground, the vine was about 1.5 feet. Oh, that's a very small vine for a watermelon. The times that I've grown it, I was looking at probably 10 to 20 foot of vine, though you might have had a bush watermelon. And they tend not to produce as much fruit. Devin's asking, when do you recommend putting tomatoes in the ground? I'm planning on around May 1st. Some of it is you want your soil temperature to be pretty warm. Okay, Nicole Rose commented, and I'm not seeing the comment. Could someone go and check and see if some folks are on that one that I shut down, and let them know that we're over on this one? I accidentally started 2 this time. Didn't mean to. So I don't know where that last comment is. Okay. So if I'm not answering your comments, it's because I can't see them. Okay, so I see Candy saying hi, Amy. Oh, hi, Nicole. I see your comment now. There was a delay between when it said you commented and when I actually see it. Okay, so Devin, about putting tomatoes in the ground. Tomatoes, I don't put my tomatoes in the ground until the nighttime temperatures are staying above 45. So that depends on exactly where in the Knox County area you are. If you're further to the south, or if you're really near the river or in a really sheltered area, you can probably plant them now. Where I am, I'm at near the top of a ridge, and I'm a little bit colder. I'm going to wait till at least May 1st to plant my tomatoes, just to make sure. And then for peppers, I don't like to put them in the ground until nighttime temperatures are above 50 degrees. So that's just my general rules of thumb. Yes, Ryman, low soil temperatures are bad, and frost will totally kill tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, basil, and quite a few other of our summer crops. Okay, would you recommend daytime ground temp? Okay, John Payne's saying he would recommend a daytime ground temperature of at least 50 degrees. Yeah, so that's, you can even take like a meat thermometer, one of those instant read ones, and stab it in the ground a couple inches and see what kind of temperatures you're going to get. Think it's the temperature you want at the bottom of your seedling. So that starts good. That is a good rule of thumb. Let's see, good to know I'm on a ridge in Corrington. Yeah, I'm finding my temperatures at my house run about 10 degrees cooler than the forecast in the winter. And actually in the summer, my temperatures tend to be higher than the forecast. I am on a south-facing slope. Okay. Were there any questions that I missed so far? Okay, the birds are particularly busy right now, as you can probably hear them in the background. We have a mockingbird that thinks he owns our bird feeders, but the other birds manage to sneak in. The bluebirds have chicks, which means they're going to be eating all the caterpillars and medium-sized bugs that they can find anywhere in our yard and our area. So I tend not to have very many caterpillar problems, though it's a bit early now. So far I haven't seen my first cabbage white butterfly. I've seen some damage on my cabbage family plants, but I'm pretty sure right now that's been almost entirely slug damage. What soil does gray and yellow squash like? We do have a lot of clay. I'm thinking that you probably are meaning like zucchini type squash as gray. And I know what yellow squash is. Clay is good. You just need to get a little bit of organic matter in the soil. you can do that by, I generally only top dress because then I'm not destroying the soil creatures and the life in the soil. Okay, you do mean zucchini. Um, yeah, clay is good, but it just needs a little bit of organic matter. If you top dress it, that means um, lay on top of it. Um, an inch or so of a good quality compost. There's quite a few available. They don't really add a lot of fertility, but they do add organic matter. And organic matter really does a lot of work to break up the clay. So the other issue you might have with, well, there's a couple pest issues with squashes, squash bugs and squash vine borers. So a lot of people around here who have success with them on a small scale will actually cover their squash plants for until they start blooming. But the organic matter is pretty key. It also can be helpful to do a soil test to make sure you have enough fertility. They're not super hungry crops, but they can be an issue. Okay, can you recommend an organic method? Oh, and Brian put up an article for controlling critters in your garden. I don't remember who it was that asked about that, but that was a good one. Let's see. Someone asked. Okay, Candy asked about cucumber beetles. Okay, cucumber beetles. They over. Oh gosh, I'm pretty sure they overwinter in the soil. But I am not absolutely positive. If someone can look that up and confirm that. So crop rotation is a big thing with them. The adults are mobile. I know the larvae of cucumber beetles are in the soil, but I'm just not sure where they overwinter. So crop rotation can be a major thing. Removing the beetles, like taking the plant and knocking them into soapy water, just a little bit of soap and water. Um, and so those can be helpful early in the season. If you get them early in the season, that can be really helpful along with the crop rotation. Um, they are attracted to yellow, so the yellow sticky traps can be helpful, particularly early in the season. Um, but they can, I mean, they are a problem. And also, early season cucumbers are much easier to grow than late season. Um, Oftentimes, the pest pressure is such that it's hard to get a later crop of cucumbers going. Okay, I think I missed a question, but I'm seeing some folks answering questions on here. Okay, new to gardening. I have several seedlings but no compost. Where do you recommend buying compost from? Um, for me personally, I go with bagged compost. Yeah, Erin's recommending Nature's Best. They're a good place. Ryland's saying, yeah, I've heard Monterey Mushroom has the mushroom compost. What I heard last week was that they're down to just hot compost, which would have to sit for several weeks to a month before you could use it. So that's probably not a reasonable option. But bagged compost, there's bagged mushroom compost, there's bagged composted cow manure. Any of those would be um, a good option. Okay. Oh, vegetable garden, Devin. Okay. I lost what Devin's original question was. I'm seeing Laura asked about the best material for filling raised beds and where to acquire it. I've heard really good reports about Nature's Best, um, though I have heard some of the companies have raised their prices because of demand currently. Um, and if you want to, some people, well, I know in the Square Foot Gardener, I need to take a drink here. Mel Bartholomew recommends doing a mixture of bagged materials, including vermiculite, compost, and something else. Peat moss. So those kind of things are an option, though that tends to be a bit light for our area. Okay, Amy, good books on vegetable gardening in East Tennessee. There's a really good book by Ira. I can't remember her last name. She's with Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, and she has a very good book for Southern gardeners. It's like a monthly guide. If someone can look that up, Square Foot Gardener is really popular, but you have to remember that Mel Bartholomew was in the Pennsylvania area, so some of his recommendation for soil is a bit light for here, and I think his watering recommendations are too skimpy for here. But good books on southern gardening. I'll have to look that up. If anyone has favorites, you can put them in there. There's not a whole lot of books recommend. I don't know of any that's specifically vegetable gardening in East Tennessee. There are some southern gardening books. I think Felder Rushing is a co-author on one of them. Oh, good. There's the Southern Exposure book. UT has a lot of good references about gardening in Tennessee. Not specifically not the Knoxville area, but they're generally pretty good. Okay, I found the tomatoes taste different. Tomatoes grown in containers taste different. Do the bagged materials alter the taste of the tomatoes? I think Ira Wallace, that's her name. Okay. I do think that exactly the nutrients, micronutrients in the soil that the plants are growing in greatly affects the taste. So what you put in your container is going to be different than what's in the ground. So the flavor is going to be different. Also, water has a great effect on the flavor of the tomato. How much water, when it gets it, and probably even the pH of the water, though I'm not sure about that one, because it would affect what nutrients the plant's able to take up. Okay. I figure there's probably a few more questions that I haven't seen yet. I have a delay on my system, I think, between when you ask and when you see, and then there's another delay between when I see and when you see me. Okay, books on southern gardening. There's a good one about I'm going blank on the name. There's a good one about ornamental plants that is going. Let's see, the Master Gardener program. A book. Yeah, Mel Bartholomew. Okay, do you all want me to stay on for a little bit longer? Because I do have some extra time. I'm going to put that in the comments so that you all can see it if I can figure out how to write a comment. Okay, there it is. Okay. Let's see. There's a question. How do you get rid of red red ants? I found underneath a rose bush around my mailbox. Okay, so the one of the questions is, are they just regular ants or are they fire ants? Um, the normal ants that live around here tend to make very small mounds. Fire ants will make huge mounds, and if you poke at them, they will boil out of the seem to boil out of the hull. So if you have fire ants, I would go for one of the products that's specifically for fire ants. Um, a lot of people have mess around with. Oh, they bit and they were mean. Yeah, that's probably fire ants. Okay, Ryland just put up a reference to fire ants, and that's really good. Um, I would say check out that reference. It should give you some really good information. I've tried all sorts of different home remedies for fire ants, and they really, it really hasn't been effective. It's the only, I'm an organic gardener, and it's the only non-organic pesticides I've used on my property is for the fire ants. They're just too dangerous. Okay, and Brian put up an article about the cucumber beetles, so that's great. How do you remove sod for a garden space? I used to till it in. If you have Bermuda grass, don't till, because that's a way to improve your Bermuda lawn is actually tilling it in. The easiest way I've found on a fairly small scale to remove it is to take a shovel and mark out strips about a foot wide, and then essentially skim off the top 3 to 4 inches. That'll get nearly all the roots of that Bermuda. And if there's any left, they'll be fairly easy to weed out later as you're developing your vegetable bed. So that's the best way I've found. And then I pile it up, or I actually use it in a spot where I want that grass and it's going thin. Um, but you can pile it up and in an out of the way spot where you don't mind Bermuda growing, and let all the soil and nutrients and as much of it die as will. But don't put it where you don't want Bermuda. But that's the easiest way I've found, and it's not easy. Hire someone with a sod remover would be the easiest if you're doing large scale. But for small scale, just marking out areas and just sort of skimming it off, and I'll roll it up as I take it off. Okay, were there any other questions that I missed? Okay, and I'm going to put that in the chat. So I don't know if everyone has the same delay that I have. Okay, Rylan says, I think I got all of them. Let's see. There are arguments that for an initial bed creation, tilling isn't the worst option. It's not the microbes that I'm worried about with tilling. It's just that many yards around here have Bermuda grass. And so I'm actually more concerned about sowing Bermuda grass than on destroying the microbes. The microbes will come back pretty quickly. But it is that Bermuda grass. I have a Bermuda yard. in my last house, we had a whatever will grow yard, which consisted of a lot of Bermuda. And so you really don't want Bermuda in your vegetable beds. So that's my issue with the tilling. It's really not the microbes. They'll recover, you know. Might take them a couple months, might take them a year, but if you get Bermuda in your vegetable, deep in your vegetable bed, you'll be fighting it forever. Okay, I'm gonna stay on here 5 more minutes unless we get more questions, and then I'm gonna shut this down. I would like to thank everyone who helped answer the questions and everyone who asked them. Really enjoyed this, and feel free to. I'm going to schedule another one probably next week. And let's see, the roots get down to about 6 inches with Bermuda. Yeah, I find if you get the thicker white roots out, there are little stringy roots that come off of them. I don't think those start new plants, but it's the white they're not really fleshy, but they're like almost cord-like roots. Those are the ones that tend to resprout. Yep. Okay, so I will shut down at 9:40 in 3 minutes. Okay, mycorrhizae. I'm not sure what you mean with mycorrhizae. I mean, I know when you till, you are damaging it. But I figure, if you till once starting your bed, it's going to come back. Yay, turf grass. Oh, mostly clumps of Johnson grass. Yeah. Do you have a good way of getting rid of Creeping Charlie in your yard? I have seen some really good references for that, and I don't know them off the top of my head. For how to control Creeping Charlie. Some of it is keeping your grass high enough so that. I did overwinter the peppers behind me. Yeah, I do typically overwinter some of my peppers, and so I'm actually harvesting some early peppers right now. Peppers are actually perennial plants, but they're tender. Okay, back to the Creeping Charlie. I think one of the big things is letting your grass be tall enough, because it really can't compete with good, strong grass. But if your grass isn't good and healthy, the Creeping Charlie gets a headway. Okay, recently got into poison ivy and poison sumac. I'm having trouble reading it. Have a bed that runs along my driveway that can't be excavated because it would destroy the driveway. Roots are intermingled with boxwood roots. Okay, it has many perennials. The best way I've heard of dealing with that is actually to clip the poison ivy. I mean, you need to be careful that you don't expose yourself too much about it. So remove the green, but as soon as you cut that stem that grows into the ground, you would paint there's poison ivy and brush killers that are actually on the label, so you can paint the stem. The cut off stem where it goes into the roots. And that should kill it. It might take more than one application. I think there are some good extension references on that. Okay, John says had severe problems with Bermuda grass. He had success with a product called Over the Top. Okay, yeah, I've heard of that. Doing organic, I'm not super familiar with some of those products, but I have definitely heard of that. So thank you for chiming in on that one. So Ellen, I hope, the strategy of cutting it off and painting the stem where it goes to the roots. That should help take care of that. Yeah, and it won't damage the other plants in that area. Yep, applying to the fresh wound. Yep, that's what you're wanting to do. Well, it is 9:40 now. I am going to wait a minute for the delay in things, and then I'm going to shut it down. So I want to thank you all. I would like to thank all the Master Gardeners and Rylan, our extension agent, who helped to answer questions while we're during this. And I'm going to say bye, all. Thanks for coming. This video should be up in a few minutes if you want to rewatch it. I'm going to set it so that it'll do that. Bye.